Good morning and welcome to West Coast Grandma. Well, I'm doing a bit of a sourdough marathon. We're going away on our boat tomorrow for the very first time to stay overnight on it. And I want to make sourdough bread to take with us, and I also want to make sourdough bagels. So I meant to show a picture of my starter last night feeding it so that you'd get the beginning, but here's my starter. And I am just going to whip up a double loaf of sourdough bread and get that going all day. Then tonight I will do the bagels, and then tomorrow morning I'm going to cook them both. So let's just hope they turn out. Okay, so I am quickly going to mix up this bread. As you noticed, I've got this little picture of my granddaughter, Sully, that's here beside me because I'm helping her with a project. She has to come along on different things that I'm doing, so I am taking her along with me filming this video. So Sully's going to be standing here watching. So I'm going to get my water and get that in. And 625 grams of water. There we go. And I'm going to add my salt. A little bit more. There we go. Salt. And we're going to tare it back again. And I'm going to use 300 grams of starter. And this is starter that is bubbly and ready. All right. And then I'm going to mix it up so it's ready for me to do my bagels tonight. I'll feed it, and there we go. There, just get that sourdough starter just incorporated into with the water and the salt. Oh, it's sure sticky and gummy and thick, but it just bubbles up like crazy. All right, we'll tear that back. I like my usual mixture of white flour and rye flour. So we're going to use 300 grams of rye. And this is Anita's organic rye, made in Vancouver. There we go. And now this is my Nuka Rose Milling Company. It's my unbleached white organic flour. I got to say I love it. So it is a little milling place that's right near where my daughter lives, so it gives me the opportunity to stop in and grab some. There we go. That's all I need. We're going to give this a bit of a mix. Let's take it off there. And I'm just going to mix it up a little bit, get the water in there, and this is going to let it just then sit for a little bit, just for it to get a bit hydrated with the water into the flour. There. Okay, so I'll come back in a few minutes here, and we'll get it formed into a bit of a ball, and we'll start doing our stretch and folds over the next few hours before I head out. And also, while I'm letting this flour and water hydrate, I'm just going to feed my starter. So pop that on my scale, and we're going to tare it back to 0. And I'm going to put 100 grams of flour. There we go, 100. And we'll tare it back again. And we're going to put 100 grams of water. And there we go. And then I just need my trusty chopstick, and we're going to give it a mix. And there we go. It's going to be ready for my bagels tonight, because my bagels I do at bedtime. And then tomorrow morning I'm going to be cooking the bread and the bagels. Done. Nothing to that, that's for sure. And I'm going to leave that on my stove. Good. There we are. We will come back in a bit. Alrighty, we're just going to mix this up a little bit more here. It's not quite all blended together. I'll just scrape this off the sides. I think that's probably pretty good. And we're just going to let this sit. And then in about, half an hour or so, I'm going to come and I'm going to do the first stretch and fold. And I'm just going to cover it up with a bit of plastic wrap. Now, somebody said to me about getting shower caps from the dollar shop, and I still need to do that because that to me would be the perfect idea. Because I do think it needs to have plastic wrap on it. I tried just a tea towel and it just dries out. So I'm going to put this on my stove. And I just cover it with a tea towel just so that it kind of holds the edges down. So there we go. I will come back in a little bit when I'm ready to do my first stretch and fold. I just ran out to the garden and picked a whole bunch of stuff to make a nice fresh salad to take on the boat. So let me just get this into some water and then we're going to do our first stretch and fold. Okay, I'm going to do my first stretch and fold here. Just going to wet my fingers. That really helps. And yeah, and we'll just go around a couple of times. Alrighty, I'm going to cover it up again. And we're going to let it sit maybe for an hour or so. Then we're going to do that again. There we go. Okay, I'll be back. Time for another stretch and fold. I wet my fingers again. All right. And there we have another stretch and fold under our belt. Okay, and I'm just going to cover it up again and let it rest for another hour or so. There we go. Good. We'll be back. Okay, I just got back from the grocery store. Gonna wet my fingers again and just do one more series of stretch and folds. There. I'm going to leave it for about another 45 minutes and I'm going to do my last stretch and fold. So I will cover it up, put it back on my stove, and I'll see you back soon. I almost forgot. I just stopped at the dollar shop and grabbed a package of plastic shower caps. And look at that. Is that not easier? So anyway, there it is. Going to wait for another 45 minutes. $2.50 that was for 4, so I'll never need to buy plastic wrap again for my sourdough. Okay, last stretch and fold. Then we're going to let it just bulk ferment on the stove for the afternoon. I am going to cover it up and I'm going to put it back on my stove and I'm going to let it bulk ferment probably for about another 3 hours. I have to go to my martial arts class tonight, so I'm hoping to get it into the fridge before I go. I found that over fermenting it when it's more than doubled its size, sometimes that just seems to kind of stop the bread from rising when you're baking it. So I'm trying to not let it bulk ferment for too long. So I'm going to put it back on my stove and I will come back in a few hours. Well, I'm back in a bit of a rush and I forgot to start filming, but all I did is took my dough and took it off the stove, divided it in half, let it sit for a few minutes, and then shaped it into my little loaf, flipped it upside down into my Banneton basket, and I'm just going to put them in plastic here, and I'm going to pop them into the fridge. And now they're there till tomorrow morning, so nothing else to worry about for these today. Tonight I'm going to be doing my bagels. So that's it for the bread. until tomorrow. So we'll see you back later when I'm doing my bagels. Okay, well, I'm home from my class and it's 7:30 and I thought I would just whip up these bagels and get them on the stove so that I can make them in the morning. So I already have 2 tablespoons of honey in my bowl here, and I'm going to add 1 cup of warm water and 2 teaspoons of salt. I know this recipe now, I make it so often. 2 teaspoons of salt. These are only a half teaspoon each, so there we go. And I need about a cup of starter. And this is the starter that I fed this morning. So I will be feeding this again after I've made the bagels here, and I'm going to put my starter in the fridge. About a cup. There, and I'm going to just turn it on and give it a little bit of a mix here, just to get it blended and to get that honey off the bottom. Okay, and it takes 4 cups of flour. So again, I filled probably about the bottom third is rye flour, and the rest is just that organic, unbleached milled flour that I've been buying. So I just poured the whole 4 cups in. There we are, and I'm going to turn it on, let it blend for about 30 seconds, and then I'm going to turn it off and just let the water hydrate with the flour for a bit. So we'll just let it mix up for a few seconds. There we go. I'm just going to let that sit for a few minutes and then I'll come back. Okay, it's sat for a couple of minutes. I'm going to turn it back on, and I actually put my timer on for 7 minutes, and I let it just knead the dough for 7 minutes, and then it's all ready to go into the bowl. And then we'll be done for tonight. There we go, the timer went and I've turned it off. So easy to make these kind of bagels. I mean, there's no kneading. There it is, all nicely kneaded. Thank you to my little machine here. And I'll just roll it in a little bit of oil so that it stays moist and doesn't dry out. And then I've got my new fancy little lids that I got, and I'm just going to leave that overnight on my stove, and then in the morning I'll bake them. I will come back and show you how I'm going to do that and my 2 loaves of sourdough bread. So have a good night, and I'll see you in the morning. Good morning and welcome back to West Coast Grandma. So this morning I'm rushing around here to get stuff ready because we're heading out on our boat to go over to Pender Island overnight. First night on our boat, so we're kind of excited about that. But I want to take sourdough bread and, of course, fresh bagels. So I've got the oven on, and I've just taken my bread out. I'm going to put that in a minute. But first of all, I just want to get the bagels done. So as you can see, Sully's with me here again today, my little granddaughter's project that I'm helping her with. So here's my dough for my bagels. Now, normally I do this in my house coat first thing in the morning, but I didn't think you guys would want to see me in my house coat, so I had my shower and everything anyway. So now I'm rushing to catch up because we have to be down at the boat by 10 and it's already 8. I've got to get all this stuff baked and done. There's my dough. It's beautiful for the bagels. I'm just going to take it out. And I always weigh it because I know that this makes 10, and then I have a rough idea of how big to make each bagel. So let's just get all this out. There we go. I'll turn my scale on. There, and we're just going to weigh that. It's 1,040 grams. So I know that each of my bagels is going to be about 100 grams. So I just cut it with my trusty cutter. Well, that's not big enough. There, 97. So I'm just going to form my bagels, as I always do. Fold it all in, and then just scrunched around on the counter. Oh, the one thing I did forget to do is put my cornmeal on my cooking trays here. I just find that's the best, rather than using a sheet of parchment paper every time. I just do a little sprinkle on here. Like that. I kind of had this down to a system. So So, and especially the cooking part. So we're gonna zip through these. Okay, now I'm gonna shape each one. I just pick it up, put my hole in the middle, and just stretch it around here to get my shape of my bagel. So you can see that's pretty quick. So I'm going to put these on my oven where it's warm. And I'm going to cover them up. Right, so those are good to go. Okay, now we're going to get this bread going. So my 2 Dutch ovens are in my oven right now. They've been in the oven for about an hour at 500. Okay. I really love these silicone mats, and I got another one. So now I have one for each when I do my 2 loaves. There's one. Those look perfect. And we are going to score these. And again, you go nice and deep. Probably goes down a good 1/2 inch. Already. So I'm going to get my oven mitts on. Don't forget your oven mitts when you go to take your lids off. I almost did that one time. You just open the oven and go to grab the lid off, and it's hot. Let's get these in. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I got a new oven. I was having so many issues with that other oven. So we had to get a new fridge, so we got the matching oven. Woo, hot. Okay, let's get these in. The smaller one. Oh, they look pretty well the same. All righty. One. Two. There. Now we're going to put those lids back on. The only thing about this oven, it doesn't have the rolling drawer, and it makes it difficult with 2 heavy Dutch ovens. I'm going to turn my oven down to 460 to 20 minutes. And there we go. I will come back when I take them out of the oven. Well, actually, after 20 minutes, I'm going to pop the lids off, and I'm going to turn it down to 420, and I'm going to cook it for about another 15 minutes. But that's where I'm going to watch it carefully because I don't want it to burn on the top. So come back a little bit and see what they look like when they come out of the oven, and then I'll be getting ready to put my bagels in. Okay, I'm back. I'm just going to get these bagels done. So let's see, can you see? I have just put on a pan of hot water, and as soon as it gets boiling, I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of brown sugar in it. I used to use honey, but I find that I'm going through so much honey. I use honey when I make the bagels, the 2 tablespoons in the recipe, but when it comes to the water that I'm boiling it in, I've decided just to use brown sugar. So I'm going to go and boil the bagels that are, they've risen a little bit, and I'm going to boil them about a minute on either side, and then I'm going to get them in the oven. So I will pretty quickly be able to show you what my little blitz of sourdough has produced. While I'm just waiting for my water to boil, I'm going to cut this loaf in half and show you the crumb. And I'm cutting it in half because I'm going to put this one in the freezer. Because like I said, we're going away and I'm taking the other loaf with us. Now, I didn't cook this quite as long. I just find sometimes it's so crunchy. Ooh, Again, this is my favorite. 1/3 rye flour, and the rest is just regular unbleached. Oh, look at that. It's beautiful. I'm happy with that. Yeah, so this one I'm going to put in the freezer. I will show you when I'm all done, all the bagels as well as my 2 loaves. Okay, they're all done. We've got 2 loaves. There's the one I showed you the crumb, and there's the other one. I'm happy with these. They look so good. And there's my 10 bagels. So that's my little sourdough blitz to take with us on the boat on our little trip to Poets Cove. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing how you can still manage your day and do 2 sourdough projects at once. So hope you've enjoyed this. West Coast Grandma is signing out.